They come at it with logic.
There's nothing logical about this podcast.
They use science.
They use science and logic.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass. We're gonna die.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we love and growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, man, why do they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you, I'm one of your three co-hosts, Roger Roper. And alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And Gene, the Maestro Lyons.
Why don't we have dinner and a huge amount of alcohol?
And each week we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films from our childhood still hold up. Each week the audience selects from 6 movie choices that we then break out our race car VHS tape rewinder and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes. At the end of the podcast, the three of us will provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, and in October, I guess I think this is going to be released in October.
October 20th.
Yeah, October 20th. We're going to be watching The Watchmen. That's what we did. We just had a Watchmen watch party over at Gene Lyon's house.
We did, and as I set the party up, I forgot that the movie's 3 hours long. And then Roger's like, is this the theatrical release or the director's cut? And I was like, I don't know, let's find out. So it was actually 3.5 hours long, including all of the animated sequences of the Black Freighter. So, but it holds up, man. It's good.
That's the ultimate cut. So there's a theatrical release. Then there's Zack Snyder's director cut, which doesn't include, you know, the cartoon non sequitur fucking scenes. And then there's the ultimate version, which includes just everything. And it's really the closest adaptation of the graphic novel. And I agree with you. It holds up. And I think it's one of the best superhero comic book movies ever. And I'm really looking forward to Watchmen on HBO. It's something I'm really looking forward to watching. And I haven't been that excited about a series in a long time. As we've been doing all summer and into, I think the first day of fall is right around the corner. We've been clearing out our commissions. People send in money through our support link and get a fast pass, which basically allows them to hear our take on their favorite movies. And tonight's episode is no different. Is that right, Big D?
That is. And before we go into this, I just want to thank everybody who listens to us, supported us, shared with a friend. Today we hit a huge milestone. We hit our 1 millionth download for the movies. We've done 5.8 million total downloads for all the movies and TV, but I'm shocked, 1 million for the movies. Yeah. When you think about how small of an audience there are of people who really love 80s and 90s movies, to hit 1 million in 3 years, thank you to everybody. It's blown us away, the support. And like I said before, we were happy when we were doing 75 downloads a day. So it's nice to hear that more people than that are listening to us today.
Yeah, we had a comment on Facebook that was like, imagine if you got $1 per download. And I was like, fuck, imagine if we got 10 cents per download.
So this comes from one of our listeners, Joe from Alexandria, Virginia. And he, for some reason, really liked the 1986 Tom Hanks classic, The Money Pit.
One of the things we always ask when we do get a commission is the reason why they decided to send in $100 to a small little podcast. I mean, we're like mid-sized, right? We're not quite independent at 1 million. Are we still small potatoes here? I don't know how big podcasts are.
We are not big time. We're extremely amateurish, but 1 million is still good. We're probably better than 90% of podcasts. We're consistently in the top 100 in iTunes. So that's an achievement. You think people get more than they do, so we should be proud of this. We're not like our parents' garage.
It's also eye-opening to know that there's so many podcasts out there that are consistently putting out great material and making like no money doing it. So again, we always talk about, these commissions and the dollars coming in. This is like strictly to support the podcast. Like if we actually broke it down for $1 per hour amount, we're really getting ripped off here. But it enables to do it. So as we do things like The Watchmen, as Raj mentioned, we have to pay for the setup on that, the hosting on that, and everything. And we have no idea if we'll break even on The Watchmen. Yeah. Like, we don't know what the listenership's going to be like, but we think it's a worthwhile program, and we want to do TV for you guys. And we appreciate all the recommendations of shows, going forward. But it's all made possible by people like Joe from Alexandria, Virginia, who write in requests and send in those dollars.
I feel like that was our first PBS telethon moment. This broadcast, this episode is brought to you by the Public Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like yourselves.
We know that people can't even send $100, but the best way you can help us, pick out 3 or 4 friends, directly send them the podcast. Say, hey, this is something you would like, because if everyone did that, that would get our listenership up. And then maybe we'll finally get a sponsor.
So getting back to Joe from Alexandria, Virginia, Raj, he writes, Shat team, thanks so much for agreeing to review The Money Pit, starring Tom Hanks and Shelley Long. I've listened to every movie review you have done, even for movies I've not seen, as well as every one of your podcasts covering Game of Thrones and Westworld. Suffice to say, you have provided me with hundreds of hours of listening and laughs, and my long overdue donation is a small way of saying thank you. So why did I choose The Money Pit? I was raised in a household where my Catholic parents rigorously enforced the movie rating system, and even then screened every movie before me and my siblings could watch anything. That meant lots of Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Goonies, Ghostbusters. Pretty much if it had a PG rating, it was cleared, but nothing more. As far as comedies go, The Money Pit made its way into our library and was a regular go-to. I've seen this movie 100 times and always find it funny. However, now as a husband and father, my wife and kids are spectacularly unimpressed with this movie. They find it boring and predictable. So I'm grappling with the possibility that this gem I have held in such high regard for so long may not be all I've made it out to be. So I need you, my most trusted of media reviews, to shoot me straight. Is that a classic comedy from the 80s that stands the test of time, or perhaps something far less great? I will be eagerly awaiting your review, and again, keep up the great work. Your insights on movies, music, and even culture are terrific, and thank you for so many great recordings, which make my Washington, D.C. commute so much more bearable. Maybe we can all look forward to a Shat on Politics podcast someday. Best regards, Joe from Alexandria.
I think Joe might be like an insider. I think maybe he works for the federal government. Maybe like the feds. Maybe he's a CIA analyst, and we could have him. He could give us some tips for our Shat on Politics podcast that we'll be releasing in 2020.
I could just imagine if we did a Shat on Politics podcast, people would start commenting, "Stop talking so much about movies. This is the politics podcast. We come here to escape movies and TV."
Well, The Money Pit is a 1986 American comedy film directed by Richard Benjamin. The film is a remake of Mr. Blanding's Builds His Dream House, a 1948 Cary Grant comedy, and stars Tom Hanks and Shelley Long as a couple who attempt to renovate a recently purchased house that was filmed in New York City and Laddington, New York, and was co-executive produced by Steven Spielberg. In 2013, NBC announced that they were developing a TV series based on the film, but the project was later put on hold. Now, Big D, you're from New York. Where's Laddington in relation to Manhattan?
I have no idea, but I grew up in Westchester County, which is just north of the city. Now, it is traditionally, it's an extremely wealthy county. I live on the very south end of it, and we grew up in a house that my father had grown up in. So Westchester is very much like you see in The Money Pit where the house is, or Connecticut. So it's in that area. It's about that 25, 30-minute range from the city. And then you go a little further up, like towards Chappaqua. So I've never heard. I think that's where they filmed it, but it's meant to be Westchester is where the house is. And growing up, I was a huge Tom Hanks fan. I remember loving all the early stuff like Splash, Bachelor Party, even like The Man with One Red Shoe. Volunteers was okay. But for me, this movie was like the first misstep. And I remember watching it on HBO because you only had so much TV you could watch. And now watching it as an adult and a homeowner and a father, I don't know how as a kid I would have expected a movie that focused on like relationship problems and possible infidelity and home renovations. It's no wonder it didn't hit with me. But I just remember being like, This was okay.
All right, hold on. Now, Big D, you're the senior member of this podcast, so to speak, and this movie came out in 1986. So how old were you at this time?
So 86, I was 13.
Okay, so 13. So this movie then had to get to HBO. So you were in the high school when this movie came out.
14. I still wasn't in a relationship or thinking about renovating a house.
Gene, what are your memories of this movie? Have you ever seen The Money Pit before?
Yeah, I was considerably younger than Big D. I was 7 years old when my mom rented this. And all I remember from this entire film was like that muddy poop water splattering into the tub. It's literally all I remember from the entire movie. And I think it's because, like Big D said, romantic comedies just aren't meant for, little boys or maybe little girls. I mean, I was 7 years old. So I was actually really excited to revisit this as an adult because I didn't remember much of it. And now that I've had several failed relationships and disastrous attempts at home renovation, I'm hoping that I'll find it a little more relevant.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That was my same experience with this movie. Like, we always start the podcast with our tagline, do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? But do you actually remember what life was like before corporate video rental stores? Like, Big D, you remember that, right?
Oh my God, it was the greatest thing because it was what video stores or what Blockbuster should have been. It was that one-on-one relationship with the store owner. He'd come, I mean, we would go in and the guy was like a horror movie nut. So he knew immediately, we would be like, oh, you guys got to see, we got this brand new horror film. Oh, we got this. When you got those recommendations, that was the best part of those small, faceless like Blockbuster or Hollywood videos. It was great. It was like old small town video stores. It was great.
It was like going into like, Gene, I'm sure you spent a lot of your childhood like in record stores. It was a lot like that similar vibe.
Yeah, record stores, comic shops. There was somebody curating this stuff. It wasn't just put on a wall. Although, I think Blockbuster and Hollywood Video at some point had like the, staff picks wall. It was kind of attempting to do that, but it was just so many fucking options.
But like Big D, at a Blockbuster, you got to admit, like, you just threw up movies. Like, you didn't give a shit, like, right? Like, you didn't care what movies were up there. Or did you like really have, this is Big D's recommendations?
No, but you would tell somebody like the movie was shit.
Would you?
Oh, of course. If they came in and was like, I'm really looking for A River Runs Through It, I'd be like, oh, no way, don't do that. Go for Legends of the Fall. Much better choice.
So when my mom remarried my stepfather, we moved to Jacksonville, Florida. And that was the first time that they had lived together, that they bought a house together. It was kind of like a new family. And we went to the Mandarin video store. And it was just one dude. And they didn't even have the tapes. You had to go to the counter with like a key that had like a number on it. And then the dude would give you the video cassette. And I remember this was the movie that my parents rented and we got a pizza. And I remember being a kid thinking, all right, it's movie night. We're going to have pizza. And I was fat and I really love food. And we get home and they put on this. And again, as a 7-year-old like you, Gene, I was like, this is a dumb adult movie. Like, I don't get any of the references. I was totally bored. And I think that's why I stayed away from this movie, is because I remember being as a kid, I have nothing to relate this to, but as I've gotten older, I did find the small charm that is this movie. So without any further longing, let's go ahead, play the trailer, and dive into our review.
Anna and Walter are young, single, and in love. They've got good jobs, fabulous futures, a magnificent new home that they bought for a song. Who says they can't have it all?
It's gonna be fun fixing it up. You'll see. Look, this is an old house. It's gonna need some work. $5,000? That's just a deposit.
A little work.
When do you think you can start?
Just as soon as your check clears.
A little care.
Do you really buy this house?
Yes, it is.
A little imagination, and it's gonna be great.
Oh, no! Hey, Mr. Fielding, don't worry about a thing. Okay, guys, let's do it!
The Money Pit. If they've got what it takes, it's going to take everything they've got. Coming this Christmas from Universal Pictures.
Well, attorney Walter Fielding's father marries a Brazilian woman shortly after fleeing the country for embezzling millions of dollars from their musician clients. The next morning, Walter and his girlfriend Anna are told they need to vacate the apartment they are subletting from Anna's ex-husband, Max Beisert, a self-absorbed conductor who has returned early from Europe and calls himself the Maestro.
So this movie starts off, and I'm already starting to really worry. The beginning credits, they're a complete fucking mess of exposition. There's a wedding in Brazil. Then we have Tom Hanks's character, Walter, and Shelley Long's character, Annie. They're talking about the bills, and this is all voiceovers. The dad says there's 2.9 million reasons not to come back. You know, we have a respectable law firm. Then there's a light switch pull, and the credits haven't even started yet, right? I'm not optimistic at the way this movie's going.
Yeah, and it almost felt self-indulgent to me in the fact that they're like, oh, it's Tom Hanks's goofy voice and Shelley Long's voice. And look at, there's some underwear on the floor and not showing the main characters. I'm like, let's get to the fucking story. Let's go.
Well, at first I thought this was like Joe versus the volcano because like, I was like, maybe because I sometimes watch from, you know, illegal links through my Amazon Firebox. But so I was like, oh, well, maybe got the link wrong. And it went to another Tom Hanks 80 romantic comedy, but then I see B-roll openings of New York City. It's like that old haze that used to be like in every, you know, long shot of New York City, that gross urban jungle. And then of course the Twin Towers, you know what I mean? Like did that give you like some sort of emotional response? Was that the issue that you were having with it, Big D, is because you were like, never forget.
No, but B-roll, this is 86. There's some B-roll of like an ambulance driving through the city. It looked like it was 1967. I was like, fuck, did New York look like that in 86?
Well, did Rio de Janeiro look like it did in the movie when you went down there, Big D? Because you married your wife, Vanessa, in Brazil, right?
I did. But she was having problems getting her whole family visas to come. So we said we were going to do our wedding in Brazil. We invited, I think, like our closest 15, 20 friends, our family. Everybody flew down. It turned out to be the greatest wedding ever because it cost us much less than it would have here because Brazil, the exchange rate at that point was 4-1. So it was really cheap. But it was the adventure of having all of your loved ones in a place that they never would have gone before. And she lives in the south of Brazil, but we've been to Rio. It's one of those things, I'll be honest with you. Rio is beautiful in certain places, and I love the city. But all of the setup shots of like a sugar loaf, Maracanã, and also the Cristos de Rentur. Then it cuts to the actors, and you know this is some like backlot because it's a mix of, you could tell, some Puerto Ricans, a bunch of white people. That was not Rio.
So that's not what your wedding party looked like?
No, I wouldn't have minded it because it looked like a fun bunch of people, but that was not my wedding party.
So we had some inaccuracy on the opening credits being a mess. New York might be some old B-roll. Rio is probably not Rio. Nothing in this movie has any credibility. And that goes straight into the whole setup. You know, the first scene that we see in New York is Anna and Walter, and they're in their apartment, and these guys show up, and they're like, oh no, we didn't know, like, we're supposed to be out of here. And Anna complains that she thought Max wasn't coming home from Europe for another week. But then minutes later, Walter's like, oh no, it's going to take months for us to get an apartment in New York City. And I'm like, wait a minute. So you knew it takes months, but you waited until you thought you had a week, and then you're complaining that you didn't have a week. That makes no sense. And then Walter keeps going, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? When he knows who the fuck Max is, he's in his fucking apartment.
Does Walter not know that this is her ex-husband's house? Like, it seems as if he knew it the entire time because he has like people all over, like his business clients. He's going around like it's his place. What did he think Anna did? Where do you think her money came from?
I was so confused. I thought, oh my God, has Anna been lying the entire time? Did she pretend like this was her apartment? Or has she been staying there free? Or I didn't know. But I'm like, what a fucking idiot. There's no way she didn't know that Max was coming back. They worked together in the orchestra. How is she not aware that her famous ex-husband, the conductor, is coming from Europe to do their new big performance? She would know. They would say, hey, your big director's coming back.
Well, even before Max gets there, like, I guess it's his wild group of Europeans. Like one of the things I was like, 80s, one of the stupid jokes was Yakov Smirnoff. For some reason, I just remember that name being a punchline. But he's in this movie, and I think he's the one who busts through the doors first, right? To kick him out.
This is where the movie starts getting good for me, because if there's one way to win my heart with a movie, it's bringing packs of weirdos. And the Money Pit is just loaded with random packs of weirdos. And the first one appears, at Max's apartment, and things just start to get weirder from there. So I'm glad that they, although this is kind of a paint by numbers comedy, they do have these very 80s groups of just completely inexplicably weird people. And this is one of those where I think they probably didn't get a whole lot of direction. They were just like, all right, come in here and be weird and foreign and carry things around.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, like, what kind of Europeans are these? Like this is the typical 80s portrayal where every European was either a ski instructor, robbing a Los Angeles office building, or an ancient despotic ruler whose soul was trapped in a building. Like generic European.
The portrait of Max definitely has a Ghostbusters 2 vibe going for it.
Vigo the Carpathian. I will bring forth years. God, can we get a Ghostbusters 2 review on this podcast?
I mean, you could pay for it.
I think a commission would be nice.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, through a realtor friend, Walter learns about a $1 million distress sale mansion on the market for just a mere $200,000. He and Anna meet the owner, Estelle, who claims she must sell it quickly because her husband, Carlos, has been arrested for being a Nazi. Her sob story and insistence, an undercover Nazi living in Paraguay. Yeah. Her sob story and insistence at keeping the place in candlelight in order to save money from the goddamn blood-sucking lawyers distracts Walter and enchants Anna, who finds it romantic. They decide then to buy it.
Okay, so immediately I've got red flags. My bullshit meter is going off. And I'm like, look, I've purchased 2 homes in my lifetime. Both times I paid an inspector to check out the house before I purchased it. And I thought that was just required. But I did some research and found out that in buyer beware states like New York, you can actually purchase a home without an inspection. And because Walter is borrowing money from Benny, this like bratty kid, and Anna is getting money from Max, they actually don't have a bank telling them what to do. So it's completely feasible that they went ahead and bought the house without having any sort of inspection because they just wanted to get it through as quickly as possible.
Right. And if I can give our listeners, we've given you tips on how to survive being abducted, what to do if you're handcuffed to a toilet. I'll give you a little tip here. If you're ever going to buy a house and you have to do a home inspection, do not go with the inspector that the realtor recommends because they work together. They have an invested interest in the house passing inspection. Get your own guy to do it. It's much safer. And that came back and protected me once where I would have been screwed with a house that had some fucked up plumbing. So get your own inspector. But you can't forgive Walter. He is an incompetent attorney, right? His father was a huge con man. He's on the run. He stole $2.9 million. But yet Walter can't sniff this con out. Every lawyer I've ever known has been a stickler for a contract. They know immediately what's in it, what to look for, what the pitfalls are. Did he even read the contract? He didn't even question an inspection. So either he is incompetent or he's somewhat corrupt that we haven't seen yet.
I didn't really get the sense that, is he a lawyer or a music producer, an accountant to the stars? Like, I didn't really know what he did because you talk about the wacky characters. Like we meet his drag queen group. What is it? The broke ladies,
Cheap Girls,
the Cheap Girls. That's it. And they want to change their name to Meryl Streep. The band manager that he's talking to, like this 80s rock band, generic rock band. And then there's Benny, who is like a Justin Bieber type character, where he's just like an asshole and he's making his mom mop the floor. It's like I didn't really understand what he did, and was he so good at it that someone would just give him $100,000?
So I think it's kind of like an Arrested Development sort of setup where so Michael Bluth is, taking over the family business because his dad got into legal trouble. I think it's the same thing where like his dad embezzled $2.9 million and skipped the country. And so now he's left with the law firm and trying to make good on it. So he's like this, nice guy. He's very honest. He even gets accused of being too honest by the music producer. And I think the band is actually White Lion.
It is, yes. It was White Lion, correct, yes. Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, a little butt rock knowledge for you there. But anyway, he is a lawyer. Is he a good one? I think he's just too honest a lawyer. But I think Big D's absolutely right in the sense that I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, any lawyer would be like, all right, let's get down to the contact. He'd probably screw over Estelle,
Right?
more likely than anything.
Well, this is a perfect example. Like, I don't know how you guys are, but like, whenever I travel, I have this home flipping obsession, and it's like my guilty pleasure. Like, I don't have cable, but when I go to hotel rooms, I throw on the is it TLC or is it
HGTV?
HGTV? That's the one I turn on. And they have all these like house flipping shows, like Love It or Leave It, and the Gaines couple or whomever,
Flip and flop.
Like, you know, with my father's passing, I've inherited his house, and I've often thought, well, what if I just sell the house back in Florida? So occasionally, as one of my, you know, things, if I'm watching a movie, not one for the podcast, but if I'm just watching TV, I'll occasionally look through Zillow and I'll find some just great deals, because I'm looking at homes that I want that are like bigger, right? They're big houses. They're like 4 or 5 bedroom houses. Because I'm thinking to myself, well, I can't really afford a 5-bedroom house in Scottsdale, but what if I bought it and fixed it up? Like, do I really need that big of a house though?
No, you don't. And this is the thing that's driving me nuts about this whole thing, is that you're talking about getting a bigger house. Rod, you're one guy.
I know.
You already have a 3-bedroom house.
I know.
With a 2-car garage.
I know, but I need a 4th
you
bedroom.
You have a formal dining room and a living room. You have a yard. You know, I'm looking at this movie and I'm looking at Max and Anna buying this house. I go, you're 2 fucking people. You need an apartment in New York City. You don't need a big ass house. And I start to get mad at them. I'm like, you know what? You deserve what you got, because regardless of the price tag, this is too much house for 2 people. So I started looking into that. I don't know. I'm on some sort of an anti-capitalist kick here. And I go, you know what? The average American home built today is spaced out at 1,000 square feet per person.
Yeah.
So if you have 4 people living in a house, it's likely to be 4,000 square feet. 2 people, 2,000 square feet. There are rooms that exist just to hold stuff. Mm-hmm. And most of the houses being built today, I found this out, like when construction is going up, they're looking to build houses that have 4 or more bedrooms and 2 or more bathrooms per home. That's just the standard now. That's fairly new. This was not the case back in the day. You buy a home from the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. It was 1 bathroom, maybe 2, tops 3 bedrooms. And you might be saying, well, great, you got all that space, but you're not thinking about the resources to like heat it, to cool it, to light it, how much effort it takes to clean it. And one of the really strange phenomena is people now have an unwillingness to go outside because they're making the home bigger so you don't have to leave it. Back in the day, it was like you had a smaller home because you would just go outside to do shit. It's sad, man. It's upsetting.
Well, like you said, besides the fact of finding ways to decorate it, fucking to clean it, it's just so much work. You by the time you finish one room, the other room's back, so you're doing like a big circle, unless you're like Roger Roper, who has a housekeeper. You know, an adult man who can't clean his own house.
Gene Lyons has a fucking housekeeper.
Yeah, I have a housekeeper,
well.
and I also live alone in a 1,300 square foot house. But let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the movie and problems that we have. I felt like the script was amateurish in the way that they developed and introduced characters and some of the exposition. We're going to meet the real estate agent. What the hell was his name? It was Jack. So instead of us going... Oh, God. Instead of us just meeting Jack and then we realize that he's the realtor friend, they do it in this awkward conversation between Walter and Anna. And this is actual dialogue. Walter says, Jack can help us. Isn't Jack in jail? No. He got off with a small fine. Jack's a perfectly legitimate real estate agent. I was like, am I watching Bosom Buddies? Or we don't need all this bullshit. Just let us meet Jack and find out, hey, Jack, can you help us with the house?
These, again, I got to kind of side with Gene here on this, Big D. The exposition really didn't bother me as much because these side characters are so perfectly portrayed by the actors playing them. In a clumsier movie, this character would be over the top. It would be like Melissa McCarthy or someone like where, you know, she's falling through tables or whatnot. So, and it can get very over the top. Jack is kind of a bigger guy. And so they kind of play on that. And he has like the heart monitor and it's kind of going off. And I don't know, some movies can pull this off. Some movies can't. And I think this one really can. And I felt like this held the test of time comparatively to what we may see in modern movies. From the moment Walter and Anna take possession of the house, it quickly begins to fall apart. Contractors At and Brad Shirk tear down the house to pieces using Walter's $5,000 down payment, leaving him and Anna embroiled in bureaucracy to secure the necessary building permits to complete the work. Walter's continuing frustration at the escalating cost of restoring the house leads him to brand it a money pit, whilst the Shirks continue to assure him that their work will only take 2 weeks.
Guys, I can't believe I'm saying this after on so many podcasts saying I hate physical humor and slapstick and all this shit. But as the house begins to fall apart, that's like the meat of the movie, right? That's as you guys went to medieval times and asked when they were going to start fighting, I'm watching the money pit and asking when's the house going to start falling apart in increasingly comedic ways. And this is when it starts. And as the staircase is falling apart and the doors coming off its hinges, I'm like, oh shit, this is going to get old really quickly. Like, how much of a house disintegrating can we watch? But I thought somehow the film's creators found ways to make all the gags different and exciting. Like every time they would touch anything, I'd be like, oh shit, that thing's going to fall apart. And it was just interesting to go like, sometimes it would fall apart in ways you didn't expect, or like you expected the stove to blow up and then it didn't. You know, so I felt like they did a good job. If you told a writing team, hey, you got to make this house fall apart for the next 30 minutes, I'd see a lot of lesser teams run out of ideas. I think they did a good job coming up with creative and new ways for things to go wrong.
The only two of the bits that I laughed at was the raccoon attack out of the dumbwaiter in the kitchen, or where he's in the backyard and the bees attack him as Anna is practicing, and it's like the classical music. Those two I liked. But listen, Gene, I think the individual set pieces works, but at the end, when they try to do that big Rube Goldberg machine of like, oh, Anna unplugs the extension cord, then the saw jumps up, it cuts a beam, which falls, and then somehow Walter ends up on the roof walking around with the plaster in his face. That's where I started to be like, oh, okay, we're going a little too far.
Well, I didn't know that this movie was a remake. Admittedly, I didn't know that before I read the note here. So I wonder if that scene is a throwback to like I would expect that scene to be in a 1948 film. You know, I would expect it to be kind of wacky like that.
And there'd also be like tap dancing involved at some point. And
yeah, that's right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but was there a KKK reference in that scene as well? Did you guys see that?
I think yes. You see a black guy look up and he sees a dude in all white. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Kind of big D, like the physical comedy. And I don't know if it's just something that as Americans, we don't really care for physical comedy. Like in terms of stand up, we don't really care for that. We don't care for like pratfalls, and like we're almost like evolved. We look for that, like the types of language and the timing and all that. That's more of comedies and what's popular today. And I wonder if in the 80s, we liked more of that kind of stuff.
How the fuck are you not slurping this movie up? This is Home Alone for adults. This is Kevin McAllister setting up booby traps.
No, Home Alone had a certain inevitable charm, and I think this movie does too, but Home Alone was able to carry that throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, I'm not even a big Home Alone fan, and I was going to say exactly what Raj said. It has charm and heart and a feeling. It's a Home Alone when you watch it, it takes you somewhere. Emotionally and nostalgically. I don't think it is Christmas in a movie, right? It's like it's bottled up Christmas.
Yeah.
And I don't think this movie had that essence to it.
Which movie came out first, this one or Ghostbusters? Because that water looked exactly like the pink slime that brought different things to life in Ghostbusters too.
The ectoplasm?
The ectoplasm, yeah, the pink slime.
There is a charm to this movie as well, a different kind of charm. And it's really that banter between Walter and Anna. This feels genuine to me. The banter between these two lovers, it's lots of fun. And I think it highlights the coolness of a healthy relationship. You know, when you're in a relationship and it's just humming and you can kind of like take shots at each other a little bit, you could joke with each other, and you kind of have like a trust that allows you to speak in a certain way that you can't speak to other people. I think that Tom Hanks and Shelley Long were perfectly cast for these roles, and they actually rescue what easily could have been a movie just, based on cheap gags. They gel in a way that makes it work.
Now, hold on here. Now, you have done, admittedly, some renovations. I was recently, again, right over at your house, and I've been to your house, obviously, before that, when you completely were gutting out your kitchen. Now, I think during that time, you were in a relationship. Now, did that have any impact on how you guys interacted with each other?
Well, I had a finished kitchen and I didn't have a girlfriend. So I guess no, but it actually was a source of stress for us. I'm like a hermit crab. Like I will just move into whatever space is there and I'll take very good care of that space, but I have no imagination when it comes to like decor or what to do. And then my girlfriend at the time really didn't like asserting her opinion. And so we kind of were in this stalemate where like things wouldn't entirely get done. And when you came over, Raj, the question was raised to me by everybody at my house on Sunday for this Watchmen party. They were like, what is that pink entertainment center thing in the middle of your living room? And I was like, oh, well, my ex-girlfriend came up with the idea to go with a sort of a ice cream shop chic. And it stopped at that pink thing. We never went any further, but I never got rid of it. But now I've decided I'm going with a desert bohemian look, also known as Ghost Ranch, and we'll see where it goes.
It went from strange ice cream parlor with pillows of Nicolas Cage on your couches to mid-century modern. Now you're going for Ghost Ranch.
Yeah, Ghost Ranch. So lots of like leather and like black Western stuff. That's as far as I've gotten. Leather and black Western stuff.
Yeah. Well, I never got the appeal of Shelley Long. So while I agree with you that there's a charm that Tom Hanks just picks up this movie and carries it like a hermit crab for 90 minutes, I don't know. Was Hollywood going through like a skinny white girl moment in this era where every person had to look like Shelley Duvall from The Shining?
Fucking skinny white girl moment. It was like a skinny white girl 3 decades. That is Hollywood. Hollywood is skinny white girls.
Yeah, but you know, like how Big D and I were texting earlier today, and he's like, "Shit, this is Shelley Long. I thought it was Shelley Duvall." And
I thought it was olive oil from Popeye. I thought it was the same person.
And I was like, no, I did that same mistake. And I think it also, it obviously has something to do with their names, but then also has something to do with their looks, because in my mind, Shelley Long looks exactly like Shelley Duvall. And then I did a Google search of Shelley Duvall, and I feel really bad for saying this, but Shelley Duvall kind of looks like someone that would be walking the streets of Hollywood Boulevard trying to convince you that she at one time was in motion pictures.
That is true.
She looks like something that you would buy from Spirit Halloween and put on your front porch to keep kids away.
No, she looks like Artie Lang from the Stern Show.
Like a real skinny Artie Lang. But like
no, I'm talking about her today. She looks like Artie Lang. But you always talk about the Mandela effect, the way that your brain, you convince yourself to remember something that's completely different. In going back and watching these movies, we have to remember, and the younger viewers or listeners might not know, there's 2 careers for Tom Hanks. Right? Before Castaway, before Saving Private Ryan, Forrest Gump, Philadelphia, the Academy Awards, Tom Hanks, where everybody respects him. He was doing sitcoms. He was doing, just just middle of the road comedies and romantic comedies. But it hit me in this movie. He based his entire early career playing this one same role. He's a generic, angst-ridden, uptight white guy in his mid-30s. And every one of his roles is interchangeable. This could have been the character from the Burbs, and you never would have known. It's the exact same guy.
But like I said, you could confuse also this character for his portrayal in Joe vs. the Volcano, or he plays a slightly younger version of himself in Big, or he's the guy in Turner and Hooch, or the guy in Splash.
All of them have the same hangups, the same insecurities. All react the same way to stress, all have the same type of relationships. It's identical. His relationship with Carrie Fisher in The Burbs, it's his wife in this.
I think Tom Hanks didn't want a similar situation that was happening to Shelley Duvall, where they just found other people that look like her to play her type of roles. So Tom Hanks is like, I'll just do it all. What? Oh, you need a middle-aged 30 like guy? Yeah, that's for me. I'll do that. Where do I sign? But like the great job that this movie does is for every stereotypical Tom Hanks, where he's just kind of sleepwalking through with a certain bit of charm. I'm not saying that Tom Hanks is doing bad in this movie, but really what makes me laugh are these wacky characters. When the contractors finally arrive, it's kind of like a Mad Max where they're all coming in on like souped up trucks, and go-karts and motorbikes and all of this. And I was thinking to myself, this looks like a crowd at Gene's house party. You got guys on motorcycles. You got jacked up Fred Mercury. You got small people riding the back of a lifted big Bigfoot truck. And you got a shirtless weightlifter driving a go-kart. Like when I walked in to Gene's house party for the Watchmen, it really looked like the same kind of characters that were coming to fix the house.
I'm a very accepting man.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought that. When I saw this group rolling up, I said, "Oh my God, it's Gene's friends."
That's exactly what they look like. Exactly. You know what, Gene? You know what I discovered today? Gene has a Mesa Raj. He is a dude that kind of looks like me a little bit. He's got glasses, blonde hair. He's got a fiance. Like I was like, wait a minute, is this? Does Gene just need a stereotypical character type in his group of friends? Am I his second of that person? Like, you know, he's like Chad is.
You're his Morty.
Chad is successful King B, right? And I guess I'm less successful Mesa friend. I don't know. I'm podcast Mesa friend. He has a skinny version of a dude with long hair, and he has a fat version of a dude with long hair. And they were all in the same room together. I thought like a portal was going to open up to a world of adventure.
Wow, man. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm not even gonna argue it because I got to think about this one. I got to sit with it for a while.
Well, the repair work continues for a grueling 4 months. Anna attempts to secure additional funds from Max by selling him artwork she received in their divorce. Max wines and dines her. The next morning when Anna wakes up in his bed, Max allows her to believe that she has cheated on Walter when in reality, Max slept on the couch. Walter later asks Anna point blank if she slept with Max, but she hastily denies it. His suspicions push her to admit that she did, but the damage has already been done.
Okay, Gene loves all the gags, and they're all ridiculous. They're comedically implausible, these situations. He falls through a hole in the floor. He gets trapped with the rug wrapped around him. There's a collapsing staircase. There's a raccoon fight in the kitchen. But to me, the most implausible situation of them all is the idea that these two men, including one of them, a famous conductor, would want to fight over Shelley Long. She is as plain as they come. These men would not be fighting.
I got to disagree, man. There's a scene in this movie where she's in the kitchen and she's wearing some shorts and she looks pretty good.
Yeah, I can attest to this as a witness to Gene's prior relationships. Gene kind of has a thing for tall white women that are really thin, real skinny white girls. That's your
in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
In the kitchen?
Not in the kitchen. Oh, okay. Like I as a witness to that, I've seen Gene in multiple relationships. Now, there have been a couple of ones that don't fit necessarily the exact mold. And I think but I think that's because you're trying to break it. I think that you're addicted to tall, skinny white women.
I don't think I'm trying to break that mold at all. Keep it coming. Cover me in that mold. Let it eat away at my body. No, but the Shelley Long thing also, I think her character, Anna, I think she's very charming. And I think that has a lot to do with it in the sense that she sticks up for herself. She's got an independent streak. She's very, clever. She's witty. And there's a scene where she first turns on the tub and it's like sputtering out that junk, and she comes out of the room and kind of shuts the door behind her and just kind of moves away. And it's just adorable. I was very, very, I don't want to say aroused, but definitely very fond of this character.
So what would happen if you found out that you're skinny, little charming, little move out of the door? What if she came home while you were on a business trip and was like, "Hey, I slept over at my ex-husband's"? How would you react to that?
I mean, I would not react well. And the whole argument is hinging on Walter asking Anna over and over again, like, did you sleep with him? Why weren't you home last night? You didn't answer the phone, blah, blah, blah. The fact that she even slept at her ex-husband's alone when she has a place to sleep is problematic. And even though we realize later in the movie that Anna did not have sex with Max, she put herself in an incredibly compromising position. So she knows Max wants to bang her. Like, he's coming out and saying it flat out, have sex with me. Yet she goes to his home, she gets drunk and sleeps over there. And, maybe if you asked me 3 years ago, younger Gene, I'd say, yeah, a man and a woman should just be able to hang out alone regardless of their former relationship. But man, real talk, like hanging out solo with a guy who makes passes at you is just massive disrespect to your relationship.
Okay, so I got to come to Anna's defense here. Walter is putting her multiple times in a situation that's unfair. When the contractor comes in and he's a predator, he pins her against the wall and says a comment when a woman calls a carpenter. She's usually looking for the old hammer and nail.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, get out of here. You're not going to hire me. What does Walter do? He hires him and all of his buddies to come in the house. Walter tells her to go sell the painting. She's in there negotiating with Max about the painting. That's why she's there. So he doesn't get off the hook for this. He helped put them back together.
I don't know, guys. I feel like listen, if my house was living like that, and my ex called me and she was like, hey, you're going through a pretty rough time. Why don't you come over? We'll drink lots of alcohol. I might take her up on that offer. I'm not saying that I would sleep with her, but it's kind of tough to not be attracted by that, especially when you're in that kind of stress. Like, what level of forgiveness would your wife give you, Big D?
Oh, well, I've told you before that my wife and I, we have a simple rule. There is no forgiveness. There is no second chance. If she ever caught me cheating, I told her, don't listen to me. I'm sorry. It was a mistake.
Really?
If she cheated, it's not even a question. If she cheated, she will hear the door being locked. And that will be the last thing the 100%.
Mother of your child.
Yes, it doesn't matter. And she already knows I get custody. If I cheat, she gets custody and she's done. There is no overcoming that. When you break that trust, okay, that is something that you can never fix. You never unfeel that betrayal. Sometimes it's even worse, the emotional, like just the laying in the bed, the talking, that you're hiding something from them. So I could never overcome that. Could you guys overcome it?
I think I'd have boner problems. So we'd have to split up. You know what I mean? Every time you're trying to have sex, you'd be thinking about the other dude banging her. You'd be like, I'm having a boner problem. I have very sensitive boners psychologically. You know what I mean? Like I gotta be in a good headspace. Yeah. Which is helpful because it keeps me out of trouble. But I gotta be in a real, like, comfortable mental space with a person. And so the fact that they had slept with somebody else, I think would fuck up my game too much.
You see, because I debate this with you, Roger, all the time. Roger has an ex-girlfriend who he still to this day talks about.
Which one?
Roger, you cheated on her, correct? The only one you truly pine over and dream of.
Early on in our relationship, when we first started dating, and I had told her about the other girl, and her and the other, like, I was kind of dating both of them. Then I gave it, kind of a shit or get off the pot with the other girl, and then started up with my ex. And then when I did that, we took a big trip. We were having a good time, and like a dumbass, because I had been chasing after the one that I emotionally cheated on my ex with. I had been chasing her for like 3 years. And so she texts me and she's like, I miss you. No, she sends me an email. I miss you. I wish you weren't with your, we'll call my ex, for the sake of it, Janine. We'll just call her Janine. And so I was in Europe with Janine, and we were having this great fucking vacation of a lifetime. And in comes, I don't know, we'll call her Jessica. And so Jessica emails me and she's like, I miss you and I love you. And like a dumbass, instead of just looking at what I had in front of me and saying to myself, this, fuck you, Jessica. Like, I didn't need this. I don't need your fucking bullshit, because at the end of the day, it's just control. They just want control over your emotions. And this goes both ways. Guys and girls do this. But like, as soon as they know they don't have any control over you, they come crying. Don't fall into that trap. Because I did. And I messaged her back and I said, I miss you too, blah, blah, blah. Well, when we got home, Janine went onto my computer, read the emails. And even though I didn't physically cheat on her, I did emotionally cheat. And I said some things that I shouldn't have. And
hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. You tell me you didn't have sex with this Jessica?
Nope, not when I was with Janine, ever. I never physically cheated on Janine.
And I can identify with this, Raj, because I was caught in a similar thing where I was with somebody in a relationship, and they read, messages, and they saw messages that I should not have sent to another person. They're like, why did you do this? And I really sat with that and like tried to analyze it. And it's sad because when you get down to like the real reasons, you're like, oh, that's so fucking sad. It was attention. it was a person who had previously rejected me.
It's narcissism.
And then they were now giving me attention, and it was feeding my ego, and I was like responding to it. I had no intent of ever like hooking up with that person. It was just like, this feels nice, but it's wrong. But what I found is fucking awesome since then is the boss move is when somebody's like doing that and then you fucking reject them. Like when they're like, I miss you and stuff, and be like, it feels so good. And then you realize like, that's the real power move. That's the real ego feeder.
That's healthy.
That's some good shit.
Yeah, exactly. You know what else is an ego feeder is having 1980s European style hair.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on with Max's hair in this movie? Like Shelley Long's hair is a bird's nest, but Max, I'm a long time long hair. I've had long hair for a bit. I grew up in a salon. I've seen it all, but I have never seen a hairstyle like this. It's like his hair's all back and nice and blonde and feathery, whatever, but the two bits of hair just over his ears appear to have been like 25 volume sprayed flat to his temples. And those of you who know what 25 volume spray is, you know what I'm talking about. That shit looks disgusting.
So is that like big, like in the goth scene, like 25 volume spray?
Yeah, it's like Max Hold shit, man. Like 25 volume, that hair is going nowhere. But Max's hair in this movie, it's got this weird like Donald Trump. It's just floating off into the ether, but then there's parts of it are just pasted to the sides of his head.
Well, as a fellow blonde to Max, blondes generally our hair is thinner. Like my daughter is she could be Khaleesi. Like, I mean, her hair is so blonde, it's almost unbelievable. I'm looking at a photo of the actor right now, and it just looks like he doesn't have the volume. His hair is kind of flat. Gene, you have a majestic head of hair. You look like a lion's mane. You just can't even conceive that this poor guy, he was doing the best with what he could. He looked cool, had a good body. I was buying.
Yeah, not only that, he had like this swagger about him. Like he would he'd go up to the painters and be like, "No, not like this. You have to feel the brush. You have to paint up and then down like the curves of a woman." I, for some reason, he's South American, but I don't know how to do a European accent on the fly. He gave me a couple minutes, got to warm me up, but then he like takes the cigarette from the Teamster and just puts it in his mouth and walks away. He's like, "Don't smoke." Yeah. It's so good. I like you. The actor who played Max could have played him very creepily, but there's a certain charm about him that you can't hate the guy. Yes. He's so good.
You have to paint the wall. Don't tickle it.
Yes. Well, due to Walter and Anna's stubbornness, their relationship becomes more and more hostile, and in a rare moment of agreement, they vow to sell the house once it is restored and split the proceeds. This nearly happens, but he misses her and says he loves her, even if she did sleep with Max. She happily tells him that she didn't, and they reconcile. And in the end, they are married in front of the newly repaired house. Estelle and her husband / partner in crime, Carlos, resurface in Brazil, where they try to persuade Walter's father and his new bride to purchase an old house they claim to have lived in for several years, implying that the vicious cycle is about to start all over again. End movie.
As we reach the point in the movie where there's the maximum amount of friction between Walter and Anna, and you think that they're just going to sell the house and split up and it's all over, I get why he's mad. Like, she cheated on him and he's pissed off about it. I don't get why she's angry. Like, she spends the entire day yelling at him and insulting him, and all he did was call her out on infidelity. Like, when you fuck up that badly, or even think that you fucked up that badly, you got to shut up and take it. She's doing a terrible job of trying to reconcile.
You guys had a mental breakthrough before about how to deal with attention and how feeding your ego. I think that she has some kind of a mental awakening. Walter calls her a whore, and I think it affects her. She goes off in the other room and she starts to cry. I think it's the first time she starts to think. She has a bit of self-loathing, I think, and she manifests that anger back at Walter. And we've all done it. If we've ever been caught doing something bad, a lot of times we turn around and be like, "Oh, Mom, yeah, you found weed in my room. What were you doing in my room? You shouldn't have been in there." It's her trying to justify the fact that she got caught, and she's embarrassed.
"Why are you reading my emails? That's an invasion of my privacy, Janine."
Yeah.
I did say that because I was an idiot. I did say that. No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing that worries me about this epiphany, because I'd be called a whore. if you're called something, I don't know that leads to introspection. And I don't know if that's necessarily what the movie is saying. Because Anna, she never slept with Max. Now, shouldn't it be that Walter, like he tried to goad her. He was like, listen, if you did, just tell me. If you did, just tell me. I want you to tell me the truth. So she tells him the truth, and then he kind of overreacts because you can't overreact. I think he completely overreacts. Listen, if you are man enough to ask for the truth and they want the truth and you tell them the truth, yes, you have to be ready for the reaction, but like, don't call me a whore when I tell you the truth. And I don't even know if I slept with that person. I blacked out. We were having this conversation earlier. What are you saying, that if I black out and I come to in a bed with another woman, if I go and run tell the girl that I'm dating now that, listen, I blacked out, I don't remember what happened, I may or may not have slept with her, how do you think she's going to react?
I'll give you a tip, Roger. The reason why I have never cheated on my wife is because I don't put myself in that situation.
Sure.
I don't go to my ex's house in the middle of the night and drink wine and get under the piano. I don't go out at night to clubs. I don't go out without her because you know what? You're going to be tempted. When you put yourself in a situation, you're inviting it.
How very Mike Pence of you.
No, it's called
mother.
It's called being an adult.
I can't have dinner with other women. I need mother with me.
Two things. One is if she went over to Max's house and got drunk and was so drunk that she couldn't consent, it is possible that Max just basically raped her, right? That puts a whole dark spin on the movie, and that's perfectly possible. But it again does not like relieve the fact that there needs to be honesty in the situation, and also that, as I said, I think the infidelity is not even the sex part; it's the putting yourself in that position, right? Because Max flat out says, like, come over to my house. We're going to have a ton of alcohol. And she's like, okay, well, no sex. And he's like, yeah, well, we'll see. It's like, no, you don't go home with him then.
I don't know if I'm put in that situation. Here's the thing. Just to put a bow on infidelity, I feel that emotionally cheating on someone, meaning that you're seeking the attention of someone else, is far worse than physically going. Like, sex in some instances is purely transactional. There's no feelings. I don't care about this person. I'm never going to think of this person again. I really love this other person. Or I have connections, but physically I could care less about this individual. But if I emotionally care for someone, I think that's worse.
Say you're married. You got a wife. You guys are very, very happy. And then you find out that either A, every night for a month, your wife has been calling the king bee and having a very strong heart to heart and just connecting with him and bonding with him and finding him just so comforting. That's A. Right. Or B, she's been going over to the king bee's house every night and sucking his dick. Which one?
Every night is different than once. A one-time. What I'm saying is, if it's a transaction, it's probably just one time. It's never going to happen again. Now, continual hooking up, there's going to develop feelings. There's going to develop something, and you could be giving now that part of you to someone else. I don't think that's transactional.
I don't even know what to say.
I think there's a difference.
But no, I'm sorry. If you have sex and you betray someone in that, if that's defined in your relationship, there's no going back.
That's the 1950s coming out of you. Yeah. Well, I think the issue, there's a podcast on polyamory, and I tried to listen to it, and it's done from, there's this couple, and they talk about that relationship and the impact that it has in their lives. And the guy, I think in one episode, talks about how the biggest struggle for him is when his wife or girlfriend, I don't know what they are, there's some sort of higher, like they consider themselves more higher evolved from a relationship perspective than traditional marriage or traditional relationships. I don't know. It's pretty fucking freaky. Like, he said she came home one day and was like, I'm in love with my lover. And now she's like dating both of them, but like he's their number one. And like, I don't know. It's very odd.
All this sounds very healthy. Sounds very fucking healthy.
Even the swingers, like the swinger lifestyle, like if you've ever dove into that, even that's a little crazy. Gene and I are part of the the hash house areas. And there's a lot of swingers that go on. How do they maintain a healthy relationship, Gene?
No, nobody in the hash is healthy.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Nobody.
There's some damaged goods in there. I think the most healthy person was the damaged contractor.
I love Curly. Curly's the fucking best. I don't like the two brothers who own the company, but Curly is great. And Curly sees what's been going on. He's basically lived with them for the last 4 months. He's been like a roommate. And when they're about done, they're standing on their side of the house. The house is now beautiful. It's been completely redone. He comes in with his words of wisdom. He's the old sage. He says, yeah, there were times I didn't think we were going to get this one done, but the foundation was good. And if that's okay, then everything else can be fixed. And at that moment, they realize, hey, I don't think Curly's talking about the house right now. I think he's talking about us. And they decide to come back together.
Oh, so you're saying the money pit in the house is just a metaphor for their relationship?
Oh, we've got a winner.
I just want to know why he only made one key. Like, what's that all about?
Oh.
I guess keys must have just been, really expensive in the 80s. But one 80s thing I fucking love, and they did it in this movie, I've said it before, I love an ensemble ending. And so they have a wedding, and it gives a perfect reason for everybody we've seen prior in this movie to get back on the screen one more time and celebrate together. And it was fun. You got Max. He's conducting the string section. White Lion is playing over on the side, and Max kind of spots his next lover. And then you get Benny in the crowd, drinking booze. And of course, my favorite part of the movie, Cheap Girls, they show up. Is that Harvey Fierstein?
It was a Hollywood was going through a Harvey Fierstein moment where they were only hiring drag queens that look like Harvey Fierstein. It's kind of like it's the Natalie Portman and Jennifer Lawrence effect that we're currently in.
I don't think that Benny was drinking alcohol. I think he was drinking milk.
Sure, it was milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
but I want to ask, this movie started out for me in the beginning, it was a mess. And then they throw a mess on the end. Why the fuck did we even meet Walter's dad? What was the point of the wedding in the beginning? Yes, at the end, I know, Roger, you're going to say, oh, it was coming full circle. There was another con going on. I didn't need that. Have it end at the wedding. I didn't need it at the beginning. Just, hey, the dad's gone off with his $2.9 million. It was just a waste of time.
I agree the father was an added character, but what was her? Esther? Was that her name?
Estelle.
She was fucking charming. She was great. And then when they introduced Carlos, oh, I lost it. I thought it was great. Plus, I mean, it's every guy's dream to move down to Brazil with, embezzled money and marry a hot younger Brazilian. I mean, that's on my bucket list. That's what I'm going to be doing. And I hope
she was Filipino.
It doesn't matter what she was. She was beautiful. Is it Brazil? Here's the wacky thing of Brazil. You've told me this before, Big D. Like some sort of genetic anomaly has existed in this country where there's like an overabundance of women to men. So the whole social dynamic is like flipped on its head.
It is very different. There are more women than men. And whether it's culturally or whether it's because of that, infidelity is tolerated.
Yeah.
My wife's grandmother taught her when she was young. She said, men cheat. You just have to learn to live with it. Put it out of your head and move on. And my wife today is like, why was my grandmother telling me that? So yeah, it's a different world, but the Brazilian people are great. They're fun. You go down to Brazil if you get a chance, go to Rio. It's great.
Yeah. I also hope that they play that fucking 80s movie music when I move into my money pit in Brazil. That's the problem the biggest problem I had with this movie was the 80s music where the song is like overproduced, like you never hear this on the radio, but the words and the lyrics kind of match up with like the theme or like they actually have it in this. It's the same problem I had with Weekend at Bernie's, right?
I tried to find this song because
Yeah.
I was like, I got to play this. But it's like, we could build our life. We could build a house tonight.
Mhm.
Tonight.
It was just telling you the story of their relationship.
It was so bad. Well, now's the time of the podcast where we break out our Shat meters and give you our wipe scores. If you've never listened to our podcast, a Zero Wipe movie is a brand new, pristine, new construction house with 5 bedrooms and 4,000 square feet for your family of 4. A 5 wipe movie is a money pit where you're conned into buying it by a old woman and her ex-Nazi husband who's hiding out in South America. So 0 wipes is good. 5 wipes is bad. We'll start with you, Gene. How many wipes do you give the money pit?
Raj, Tom Hanks and Shelley Long are undeniably charming, But the plot, as I said at the top of the podcast, is fairly paint by numbers. It's a rom-com, and we don't do them very often, so we might be biased in that way. I thought it was worth a chuckle, but ultimately it was predictable. It was repetitive, kind of the way listener Joe's family looks at it. But there were some gems in it. What set this movie apart is the occasional quirkiness, the plumbing crew, the cheap girls. And, I really enjoyed it the way I enjoy 80s music videos, where there was no true artistic merit, but there was just a collection of freaks on the screen and made it worth watching. So was I entertained? Yes. Was it a great movie? No. I'd say it's above average at 2 wipes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. The charm of Hanks and the wacky side characters ultimately can't save it for me, but they do a pretty damn good job throughout the entire movie. In fact, it isn't until the second half that this movie loses steam. The first half I find is quite charming and brilliant. And I was like, wow, Big D, like I'm really enjoying this movie. And then I watched the rest of it today, and it just, it really kind of, it loses that Tom Hanks affable quality for me. And I think the jokes kind of run long. They did this missile joke over and over again in different languages at times. Of the Tom Hanks movies we've done on this podcast, like we've done Big. I think Big is better than this. I don't know what my rating was of Big. I don't know. That was also a different Raj. So
3.0.
I gave Big a 3.0.
Yep.
Oh, I think Big is better.
Well,
than
that was early on. That was movie number 1.
That was
So
movie number 1.
forgiven.
All right. Okay. I think this is an average movie. I think it's an average 80s movie. It's dead in the middle for me. 2.5. It might be closer to 3, but yeah, it's like a C-. Yeah, that's what I would give it. What about you, Big D? Round out the score.
So I was going to probably be a bit harsh on this, but I think it's a 2.5. It's in the middle of the road. It's Bachelor Party. I think Splash will be a little bit better. I think it's the equivalent of Volunteers. Big, I think, is better, even though I gave that 2.5. That was our first movie. The one that I have to apologize for, I think, is The Burbs. I was a bit harsh on that. I gave The Burbs a 3.5. I think The Burbs is very much like this movie. There's memorable characters. Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks. He's that, hey, here's Tom Hanks. It's the same guy you see in all those other movies. But the side characters make it. Max as the boyfriend, the ex-husband. He's likable. He's funny. Curly and the crew. I think it's an average. It's a 2.5. You watch it, and probably in about 2 weeks, we will have forgotten about it. But for the moment it was on, it was short. I laughed, and we had a good time. It was nice to see that Roger finally enjoyed a comedy and got to see him smile. So I think it's an average movie at best. 2.5.
I smile a lot. I'll say the side characters are much better in this movie than they are in The Burbs. I didn't like Corey Feldman's character as much as I like these other actors. So, all right, if we were to add 2.5 wipes, 2.5 wipes, and 1 2, and then divide by 3 for our overall Shat score, what does that give us, Gene, the human calculator?
Raj, this Shat score comes in just a hair over average at 2.3 repeating wipes for the Money Pit.
And if we were to put the Money Pit into the pantheon of Shat and compare it against, I don't know, how many movies have we done now, Big D?
Roger, this is movie 125, and with a score of 2.33, this ties it in the 64 spot with Demolition Man, Point Break, and Rocky IV. It is better than Halloween, The Fifth Element, and Weekend at Bernie's, and it is worse than True Romance, Under Siege, and Home Alone.
We must be feeling very generous here because Point Break, I would watch 100 times before watching The Money Pit.
Yeah, it was Roger. Roger's 3.5 killed it. I gave it a 1.5. You gave it a 2.
Point Break is not that great of a movie, guys. It's not as charming as this is.
Ooh, give me 2.
This is light fare.
Let me ask you though, Raj. Would you rather watch if I was saying, hey, you're gonna watch a movie on your flight to Europe tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather watch Point Break,
right,
or The Money Pit?
Oh, The Money Pit.
Oh, you're so full of shit.
Because it's only 90 minutes long, and then I could watch another movie.
That's true.
Also, I wouldn't go to the stewardess. Hey, stewardess, give me 2. I'd call her Johnny. Anyway, now it's time for the podcast where we break out our shout outs and give you our next movie. Gene, what's a shout out?
Raj, a shout out is our way of saying thank you for going to shatthemovies.com. If you go to our website, you can find out what movies are coming up, what movies we've done, look at the rankings, and even vote for movies that you'd like to see. That's all at shatthemovies.com. And while you're there, you can fill out this shout out slider. It'll pop out on the page as soon as you go to the homepage, or pretty much any of the pages on the website. Put your name in there and we'll read it on the podcast. This week's shout outs go out to Jackson, Chuck M from Atlanta, Freakhead, Kurt Douglas, Clay from MDBC, Dion from Australia, Michael, Richard Bigmus, Carla was the prom queen, Brandon, Bijan, Jean's voice.
Say it. Say it.
Just Jean's voice makes me.
That's all it says?
That's it.
Makes me what?
That's it. Jean's voice makes me. ...
Is that how kids today call their orgasms? It's like, Jean's voice just makes me.
Makes me.
Oh, fuck yeah. Just makes me.
The email address is genius@yahoo.com. Also, shout outs go to Joshua and Ryan's friend Matt from Product Central.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Who's Ryan?
All right. I don't know.
Anyway, that's all the shout outs for this week. Back to you, Raj.
Well, we are in the midst of, when we're recording this, it's still September, but by the time you're listening to us, we are in October. Halloween is right around the corner. And just like last year, we are going to end our month strong with the Shat on TV's annual Spooktacular. Last year, we did 4 80s and 90s horror movies. This year, we're doing 2, and the first of which is a commission from one of our listeners. Is that right, Big D?
It is. It's from one of our listeners, Christopher P. And I have never seen this movie.
Oh,
yes.
You're in for a treat.
I hope it is, because people have built it up. I've just never seen it. I hope it's as good as everybody says it is. I think I haven't watched it because I don't want to be disappointed. But in this movie, Ash is transported back to medieval days, where he is captured by the dreaded Lord Arthur. Aided by the deadly chainsaw that has become his only friend, Ash is sent on a perilous mission to recover the Book of the Dead, a powerful tome that gives its owner the power to summon an army of ghouls. And again, it was commissioned by Christopher P. It was released in February of 1993 and directed by Sam Raimi. And I hope it lives up to the hype that everybody's been telling me for the last 20 years. Stay to the end to hear the trailer and hear what this movie will be.
That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're everywhere on social media, including Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search for the handle @Shat the Movies. You can find our website, as Gene mentioned, shatthemovies.com, where you can also email us your suggestions at hosts@shatthemovies.com. You can support the podcast multiple ways. If you want to donate and commission, we accept payments through PayPal and Venmo. Just look for our support page, or a support tab, rather. There you can also find our Amazon affiliate link, where as you make little, purchases for your Amazon Prime, they get delivered. I'm going to Europe right now, and so I bought some things off Amazon. And if I could, I would, but I can't because I'm part of the podcast. But if I could, I would shop using our affiliate link, where we get pennies for every little purchase that you make. You can find that link on our website. You can also complete a survey to help us find some promotional advertisements and help the podcast that way. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you stop by iTunes, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. That does help the podcast grow. You can also check out, again, our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, and soon to be Watchmen. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert, and Gene, the Maestro Lions, I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week for a Halloween Spooktacular as we review the following commissioned movie. Take care, good night, and good luck.
In an age of darkness.
May God have mercy upon your souls.
Something's wrong. Something's amiss.
And a time of evil.
You shall die!
When the world needed a hero.
The swallow us all.
I'm about to die!
What it got was him.
Groovy. You know your shoelace is untied.
He's a 20th century guy.
For that arrogance, I shall see you dead.
Trapped in the Middle Ages.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. This is my boomstick.
Now, let's talk about how I get back home.
Foretold by a mystical book.
Within its pages are passages that can send you back to your time.
Forewarned by a wise man.
You must recite the words Klaatu, Berata, Niktu.
I got it.
Fulfilled by a wise guy.
Klaatu, Berata.
When thou misspoke the words, the army of the dead awoke.
Now he's got a date.
Give me some sugar, baby.
With the army of darkness.
You found me beautiful once.
Honey, you got real ugly.
Sound the trumpets. Raise the drawbridge. Drop the Oldsmobile. From Sam Raimi.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
Director of Darkman. Comes Army of Darkness. They live. They breathe. They suck. Army of Darkness.